I remember me and this girl, we ended up going inside this van that her family brought for the trip that we were going on. And out of nowhere, we ended up realizing it was empty since everyone else was like, you know, enjoying their little trip. So me and her, we went in there knowing that it was the only place of privacy. And we ended up doing the Devil's Tango in the van. Like, this felt straight out of the Devil's Hub. It was so weird. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Baba, and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story all takes place back when I was in high school, and this was my grade 11 year. Now, in grade 11, I was a massive player, but at the same time, I did actually end up being in a relationship. There was a girl that I was seeing for like a couple months, and she was actually a pretty awesome girl. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and well, she was actually really much my type. Well, to be honest, back when I was in high school, I really did not have a type. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, because in some ways, some of the girls I've done have basically been charity work, some people might say. But going on with the story, I remember basically I was one time dating this girl, and she was great and everything to me. And I remember one time when I was over at her place, me and her just finished doing the Devil's Tango, and she tells me, Baba, I'm gonna be gone for like around like 2 weeks with my family. We're going on a little like road trip. I really don't want to go, but like I'm gonna miss you. Oh, well, it's gonna be fine, don't worry, it's only 2 weeks, like it won't kill anyone. But at that moment, she ended up cuddling me and hugging me even tighter, to the point where she really showed that she was gonna miss me. And let's just say me, I didn't really think too much of it, because once again, it was a high school relationship. I never really put effort into high school relationships, because well, let's be real here, no high school relationships actually last. But let's just say the next day when I ended up seeing her in the school hallway, things got really weird, because the next day I remember I was walking down the school hallway and she runs up to me, like sprints over to me saying, Baba, what are you doing for the next 2 weeks? Nothing. I was just gonna be home playing video games. Why? What's going on? Okay, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was talking to my family, and right as she said that, I knew what was gonna happen, because she said right after, and I was wondering, they're cool with you coming, so do you want to come on the road trip with us? Now at this moment, I really wanted to say no. Like, you guys have no idea. I wanted to not go, be at home, play video games, and basically stream. That's all I wanted to do, because back when I was younger, I used to do a little bit of live streaming here and there. But basically, I looked at her and said, well, I mean, if your parents are okay with it, I have to check with mine, and I don't really know if it's a good idea. Baba, it's okay. Like, my parents love you. And also, aren't your parents also leaving for a bit? Like, they won't even notice you're gone. At that moment, I remember I ended up just basically shaking my head yes, because she really wanted me to go. And when I shook my head yes, she got so excited and started running around to her friends, basically telling all of them that I was going on a 2-week vacation with her. I was really annoyed because I wanted to do something else with my spring break. I'm not gonna lie to you, but hey, it is what it is. So I remember that day I ended up going home, and I ended up telling my parents that I was leaving for a trip with my friends, because at the time they didn't know I was dating a girl. But when I told them this, they were very surprised that I actually decided to go on a trip instead of staying home and playing video games like I usually would after school. And I remember that day I ended up going downstairs, started to pack my bags for the trip, and I basically ended up calling my girlfriend saying, okay, wait, so what exactly do I need to bring? You and that giant babe, I mean, like, what like actual things do I need to bring? Like, I'm packing right now. Oh, okay, well, bring like, you know, extra clothes, obviously, and all the important stuff. And she basically went down a list that she was bringing, so I can kind of keep mine the same, except without all the girly stuff. And I remember when the weekend finally started, I remember after school on Friday, me and her, we ended up bringing our luggage to school because we were leaving. And right as the school day ended, me and her stood in front of the school waiting for her parents to come pick us up, and they ended up pulling up in this giant van that they had. And at that moment, I knew that my spring break started, because we went in there and she had like a little brother, me, her, and her parents. It was actually a pretty awkward car ride when I first sat in there for a while, because I haven't been in a room with her parents for longer than 2 minutes. Maybe I would say hi, eat a quick meal, and that's it. I would never do more than that. But I remember during the car ride, we were sitting in there, they were blasting music, and I was just kind of on my phone until we ended up losing reception. So at that moment, I ended up sitting there just with my hands in my pockets and just kind of minding my own business, until the dad looks at me saying, all right, so I'm not trying to make things weird in the car, but I do want to make a baseline rule, okay? Baba, I don't want there be any, you know, fun stuff going on between you and my daughter, if you understand what I mean. At that moment, I looked over at his daughter, and his daughter just like looks at me saying, Dad, like, don't worry, he's not like that. We're saving till marriage. I looked at this girl and I'm like, wait, what? Like, I didn't say that obviously because I didn't want to make things awkward in the car, but basically what he was saying was that we weren't allowed to do the Devil's Tango at all during this trip. And if I knew that, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't think I would have gone. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. Honestly, I didn't mind, and I just obeyed and said, yeah, I understand, no problem. And yeah, that was basically it, until 20 minutes later, when, let's just say, other people had different plans. Because I remember we ended up doing a quick stop after like 3 hours of driving to a quick McDonald's to eat something. And as like the whole family got out of the van, I ended up basically hopping out, and my girlfriend looks at me saying, Baba, ignore everything you just said, like, don't worry about it. What do you mean? mean? Like, it's true. We can't do anything because, well, your brother's here and like your family's always going to be around us. Yeah, but don't worry. I have an idea. And at that moment, I was really questioning what this idea was, but I didn't get to know till way later because I want to say like 7 hours into our road trip. I remember we ended up making a final stop, and I'm not going to lie to you, towards like the 6-hour mark of this road trip, my girlfriend's mom ends up complaining a lot. She was complaining about how it was too hot in the van and how she wanted to sleep in an actual hotel room because she was getting sick of being on the road. So at this moment, my girlfriend's dad decides to finally make the choice to go into a motel instead to save some money for the trip. And when we got to the motel, I'm not gonna lie to you, that's when my girlfriend looked at me and said, Baba, do you want to get our own room? I mean, if we're allowed to. And when I looked over at my girlfriend's dad, he ends up looking at me straight into my eyes from the rear view mirror, and he basically starts shaking his head no. And at that moment, I'm like, oh, well, to be honest, I think I'm gonna just sleep in the van while you guys go ahead and sleep in the motel. At this moment, the mom's like, oh, like, you're such a sweetie. Like, you're such a good boy. Thank you so much for understanding. And at that moment, I knew that I was gonna be stuck in a boiling hot van overnight. Because when we finally got to the motel, they ended up unpacking their things and went inside. And all of them went inside, and I was just sitting there on my phone, basically trying to charge my phone as much as I can before the van fully turned off. But when the van finally turned off, I only had like 70% left on my phone, and I was just sitting there trying to get any reception whatsoever to basically watch a YouTube video and pass out. But then out of nowhere, I ended up hearing some weird footsteps as I was trying to pass out, and I ended up hearing someone basically knock on the door of the van. Now, I was worried to open it because I didn't want the alarm to go off without the key in the car. But then out of nowhere, I ended up hearing the door unlock, and instantly the door opens, and I ended up seeing it was my girlfriend basically just wearing a robe, and she hops into the van. And I guess you guys can kind of understand where this was going because it's literally the title of the video. But me and her, we ended up doing the Devil's Tango in the boiling hot van. Like, I'm not joking. I was sweating more than a sinner at church. Like, it was bad. I remember after a while, me and her, we ended up passing out, and we ended up sleeping inside the van. But the next morning when the sun finally rose, I ended up getting a gust of light just hit me in the face, and I realized it was the sun. But when I got up, I ended up seeing my girlfriend's dad yelling in the motel saying, where are my keys? I just had them here. I don't know where my keys are. Honey, who took my keys? And where's our daughter? At that moment, he comes out of the motel room. He goes straight to the van, and he starts bashing on the window saying, you are so busted for this. Get out of my van. At this moment, my girlfriend wakes up freaking out, and let's just say for the entire trip, we were in serious trouble to the point where we actually end up not being allowed to even look at each other or sit beside each other anywhere. It was kind of a really bad vacation. I'm not gonna lie to you, but hey, at the same time, what can I say? We broke the rules. If you guys would do the Devil's Tango in the van, comment down below. But at the same time, if you guys would fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one, peace out, guys.